public, to all, the rich and the poor, and to facilitate an integrated development. So if we look at the formal instruments, and I just take the German example, we have different plans on different levels. One point is here that within besides the urban development concepts or the urban development plans, we usually have environmental plans as sectorial plans, but as well for the whole territory. So we put the biological, the natural conditions in one plan, and we establish actions to be taken here. We have these kind of plans, and I just brought you one example where you see that, or you could see that we plan for specific open space functions. Then we have those plans who are regulating the land use, and then, of course, more detailed plans which are detailing the general concepts of land use. Besides these formal instruments, we have instruments which we call informal instruments. It's more the strategic documents, it's more the conceptual documents for regional development, but as well for the local development. And in our history, only during the last 20 years, we have worked very strongly with these integrated urban development concepts. So it's not such an old story in Europe as well to do that. And maybe some of the countries in Latin America were faster than we were in Europe. And here I took one of the concepts. These informal concepts, they mainly define the priorities for action under a certain during a certain period. If I look at the pot, in comparison, I can say maybe I'm combining different aspects concerning the formality and the informality which we would have here. So I think the pot as such, as an instrument, is a very valid one, a very important one, the basic document for taking up new developments and new perspectives in urban development. If we look at this situation concerning planning, planners talk very much about plans. We have to think about what is the effect for the people, what is happening, and I just want to give you a few examples. So, for instance, in our conceptual documents, we define, and we have to define, priorities concerning climate change. So the question of where to have the priority areas and the protected areas for drinking water. Where are the areas for flooding, and where we should allow flooding as well. Flooding is not something bad, it only becomes bad when we behave in a wrong way, when we construct where floods would have their area. Erosion in agriculture is a very important point. The air ventilation, many times we build at the wrong place, and then we ask ourselves, why is our air quality so bad? Yeah, I can tell you, because we have constructed in the area which were good for ventilation, which would bring fresh air to our urban areas. If we built and block this kind of ventilation, then we will not be very successful. And then as well, for green areas, which should be the green areas, and not only for parks, but as well for biological reasons, biodiversity, etc. Another point, which is very important in our discussions, it's the reactions concerning the flooding risk. So in our urban plans, we have specific instruments for prohibiting any construction in the floodplains. And I think this is a very important instrument also as well in our experience. Not everyone follows. And sometimes we have very difficult discussions. But flooding will diminish the value of your property if you build in the wrong place, because you will not be able to sell it after the first flood has happened. So it will go down. So this instrument is very important as well for the business community, because they know where to be able to build in a safe way, where people can buy property and will have a lasting effect of their property. So that's very important. Another point is the drainage. The drainage. Sometimes we cannot build drainage systems which would have the capacity of future rainfalls to cope with all that. Sometimes we have to allow them to overflow. And with this overflow, we very often run into problems. Because if we do not anticipate where these areas will be and what we can do there, we will block transport and many other things. So the daily life will break down. If we take that into consideration, the overflow, and we establish green areas where we can have kind of retention areas, then the situation will be much more different. It will be less costly, because we don't have to provide such big infrastructure, and we have even multifunctional green spaces. And I want to give you one example. This was a park on number 1, a park, just an ordinary park, and the city, they decided to make it a retention area. So they lowered the level of the park, and they created a wonderful retention area for floods. And in the normal time, it's still a wonderful park. So you can do a lot if you're really concerned and if you really want to do it. Heat islands, of course, is one point here. I show you that we have developed thermal maps, bioclimatic maps, and they are very important for taking decisions concerning housing, for specific groups, for instance, aging people, for hospitals as well, concerning the conditions for under climate change, or schools for children, and so on. So this kind of information can be used very well. Green areas, they should play a role in the rehabilitation, in the urban renovation. They could be gardens, they could be urban forests, they could be even agricultural areas. We have to think very much about a rational use of such areas. And these are examples from cities in Europe. Finally, the compact city. The compact city. What did we do in the past all over the world? We had very much development in the suburban areas. This is very costly. It produces greenhouse gas emissions and much more. And we are slowly changing our perspective, that we try to develop new types of housing which are very well to be located in centers of the city without any diminishing the quality of life there. So this can be a contribution to the mitigation of climate change. And of course, if we look into the constructions, then this is a kindergarten, then it would be good to do these constructions according to ecological standards. Finally, a last concept which I would like to bring into your mind. It's a concept which was developed in one of the cities. It's called the compact city in the ecological net. What does that mean? we link the